Under the new marriage law, the property and responsibilities in marriage are re-examined, and the reproductive costs for women also need proper attention. How is it that the uterus before marriage is needed by your family, but the premarital property of your family cannot be touched? As soon as it's brought up, it's considered unethical. Is this fair? Women don't dare to bring up property matters. If they do, they are labelled as gold diggers. Why can't the womb be considered a woman's premarital asset? All the men are guarding against women asking for money, but all the men's families demand that women have children to carry on the family line, and the children even take the man's surname. What kind of reasoning is this? And furthermore, using the uterus is not a one-time affair. There are significant risks and hidden costs later on. Pregnancy, childbirth, nursing, and early companionship take at least 5 years of a mother's time without being able to participate in social competition.
It seems that the new marriage law has been implemented starting from February 1st, 2025, and it has sparked widespread attention.
Hello, my friends, and welcome. Welcome back to another session with the older man. Today, my friends, is Tuesday, February the 11th, and apparently on February 1st, there was a new law implemented in China regarding divorce that has pissed a lot of the Chinese women off. And gentlemen, I'm telling you, if you do not push in America and in a lot of these Western countries to have the laws change as it's being done in China right now, the same thing we saw in Kenya, to retain your wealth after the woman decides she wants to leave you after divorce, this is what's going to happen in all Western countries. But unfortunately, it's not happening soon enough. China recognizes that marriage and low birth rate has become a national crisis. I've done videos on this before.
Okay, guys, so the bottom line with this is that, now we're going to get into this video, but the bottom line with what's happening in the West and so on, is that modern industrialization, if you notice in all of the modern industrialized countries, this is an issue where birth rates are decreasing, the existence of the traditional family structure is all but gone. The core of it is that modern society has, quite frankly, weaponized women and children against men.
But I gotta bring you guys the good news, because as of February 1st, a week and a half ago, China changed the laws. And so that's what we want to talk about today, because the women are going apeshit. So like I just described in this video, this woman is talking about her uterus. They've now gotten to the point where they're talking about how their uterus are not for sale. It's just amazing how far women will push the narrative to make it seem like they're being treated unfairly, and they should continue to take men's wealth. They will come up with every single excuse. But this gentleman has a good point on it. And thanks so much to the follower who sent me this video.
All right, so again, guys, it's like these women are talking about, oh, my uterus and this and that, and the women don't realize, they're not wanting to realize what has happened. What has happened is that, again, modern society, women have been weaponized by modern culture, modern social systems, the modern legal system. They have been weaponized against men. Now, you got all these women out there talking about, well, I don't understand where all the good men are. Where are all the good men? Well, I'll tell you where the good men are. They're avoiding family court. That's what they're doing, okay? Because in family court, in many situations, all too often, not always, but all too often, the man has no rights. You have no right. I have personally witnessed it. I've personally witnessed it way too many times, okay? So this is where we're at. And the women don't recognize that in reality, you have had far above and beyond the rights of men, okay? And we're not going to go into the reasons right now as to why that is, but let's just say women have choices that they can make that the man has no say-so over whatsoever.
One of the most significant changes is the major adjustment in how property is divided after a divorce. In the past, If a man purchased a property and added his wife's name to the deed after marriage, the man would typically have to divide the property equally with the wife according to the law. However, under the new marriage law, property ownership is much clearer. Whoever pays for it owns it. Whether or not the spouse's name is added after marriage no longer affects the property rights. This change has made it impossible for some women who were trying to take financial advantage of marriage by exploiting legal loopholes, leading to strong reactions from them, even resulting in various emotional statements posted online. Faced with this situation, some women have started using the uterus as a point of debate, attempting to emphasize the unique value of women in the process of reproduction. However, this viewpoint has obvious flaws. Reproduction is not solely the contribution of women. The sperm provided by men is equally essential. If we purely measure value by the uterus, then should men's sperm also receive financial compensation? In fact, many women who choose to have children without marriage still need to purchase sperm from sperm banks, which is itself a transactional act. This indicates that the value of reproduction is not a capital that women possess exclusively.
Okay, so again, like we've got to understand as a culture and a society, and this has been repeated 1,000 times in different videos on YouTube. The women are not the only ones that bring something of value to the table. In point of fact, when you have a traditional situation in which the man is supporting the wife while she stays home, well, whether or not they have kids, the point is the man is the breadwinner. The man is out there making a living. Now, nowadays, you have a lot of women out there with their own jobs and their own careers. So, and then that brings into question, okay, is she really a wife if she's not staying home and taking care of wifely duties, right? If she's not at home taking care of children, or she's not at home just cooking and taking care of the man's needs, is she really a wife or is she just a business partner? Those are two entirely different things. Because I can tell you, if she's just a business partner, that's an entirely different situation. That's not a marriage as under, say, God would have it. That's not a marriage. It's like two entities coming together to build a business.
Get calls, and all I hear from the woman is my child, my child. Never ever does a woman use the expression our child. I mean, there's no difference in the amount of syllables. My, our. That's it. It's not like it's harder to say. It's the same amount of syllables that's required to say our child and my child. I was watching a divorce court proceedings the other day online, and the judge scolded the mother because she kept using the term my child. He did not take care of my child, and my child should be with me on these days. And it's just my child, my child, my child, my child. At the end of the proceedings, the judge said, listen, you're going to probably be seeing another judge later on. And I can tell you, young lady, if you keep using the term my child, more than likely that judge will lean towards the father. Because literally what you're doing is you're telling the judge in your head that you have possession of the child. And that judge knows full well that the child belongs to both parents. Legally, this man has just as much right to the child like you do, legally. It's
Right. So basically, and this is something else that needs to be corrected in our society, in our culture. So you have women thinking that the ownership of children is there simply because they baked the child in their womb for 9 months, 10 months. Actually, a full-term pregnancy is actually 10 months. It's 40 weeks. And so you have these women, my child this and my child that. And I think that is coming from a culture that has constantly put women up on a pedestal. And, mothers are everything, particularly single mothers, and fathers are nothing. Fathers are just ATMs. What we need to correct in our society is that fathers are vital. Fathers are vital. And in family court, it is imperative to have a judge that is fair. I've seen this changing in the family court system in some places. It significantly depends on the judge, but some places the judges are very fair and they say, okay, listen, both people, both parents deserve equitable treatment. Unless there's something else going on, something bad going on one side or the other. But typically speaking, in a normal situation where there's no, abuse or dysfunction or anything like that, both parents deserve equitable treatment under the law. I would advise, however, that until the laws significantly, and I mean significantly, change in the West, I would advise any man in the West never to get married, at least not in the West, particularly not in America, because you will battle for your rights for many, many years, and it may never amount to anything. You may spend thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in attorney's fees and court costs, and it will never get you anywhere. Unfortunately, in the West, the legal system and the culture in and of itself has been weaponized against men when it comes to divorce.
Wrong in today's Western society because women have way too much power over the child. But then she wants the man's money. And we have to stop that in the West. And listen.
There's a key point. Way too much power. Women have way too much power in family court, period. It's not even just over the children. I've seen guardian ad litems side with mothers and make up stories about fathers and demonize fathers in court and outright tell fathers we cannot make the mother follow a court order when there's a court order already in place for the father to have visitation and certain terms that are to be followed. The guardian ad litem will tell the father outside of court, of course, that, hey, listen, we can't make the mother follow a court order. And yeah, it's quite disgusting things that they will say to fathers. Things that should be considered illegal and criminal. For example, I once heard a guardian ad litem say to a father, what do you expect us to do? Referencing the mother, what do you expect us to do? Drag her outside, set her on fire, and shoot her? And I am quoting a guardian ad litem. That is disgusting, and the legal system in the West is heavily, heavily skewed against men. And at this point, like I said, unless they drastically change the laws or get rid of the state's involvement in the family altogether, it is far, far too dangerous for a man to enter into a contract with a woman and the state in the West. Period.
Before. Now that there's a Trump presidency, this is the time that you all have to get into your congressmen and start pushing for more rights in the divorce court. And the reason for this, gentlemen, it's to your benefit.
Yes, and I was thinking the same thing. While we have someone in office that it not only has the power and influence to do something about it, but is willing to do something about it, we need to take action now. Otherwise, guys, it's just like Trump has said. If we don't take action, drastic, significant, immediate action to change our country for the better, we are going to lose our country 100% for sure.
It's not to the woman's disadvantage. It's for her to realize that she has to be fair. But number two, it also makes her know that you will be prepared to come back into the marriage market so that she will benefit as well. But it stops her from being a child, which is to leave you thinking just because she has access to your money, she can freely go and jump on the other man.
And there we go. And that happens. I mean, there's plenty of videos out there discussing it. That's hypergamy. They call it monkey branching, what have you. The women have been, not all women, but the by far large majority of women in the West have been conditioned to say, okay, I'm going to get married to this guy, stay with him for a few years, maybe have a kid or two, and then I'm going to look for someone else that has a bit more money and a bit more resources.
part of a woman's pathology. A woman looks for survival. That's it. I've done videos on this. I'll flash one of the videos that really sinks this home. But the reality of it is that hypergamy and survival is the two most frightening things that women use in order to excel herself and to act in that sort of irrational way.
Right, and you can say this is within a woman's nature to do that. However, when you have I would add to that. I believe this gentleman is correct. What I would also add to that is when you have an entire society with a legal entity called the state, a legal fiction called the state, and they have an entire system called family court, DCF, CPS, guardian ad litems, children's counselors, family court attorneys. My question is, how many statists do you need to get in between a man and his family?
Because all modern women these days are driven by social media. Social media, unfortunately, just puts a major spotlight on female nature. It gives her an unlimited access to attention, and with this attention, it gives her access to millions of men who shows her false attention, not based on whether they want to protect and provide for her, but men who want to have sex with her.
And that is a very important point. Not men that want to protect and provide for her, but men that just want to get in her pants and then disappear. Okay? And it's creating a delusional world for these women. These women think, oh, I've got all these options out there, and they really don't. I mean, yeah, you have options to have sex, but do you have the option for anything real, anything legitimate, anything long-term that's going to provide you long-term joy and happiness, that's going to provide you a foundation upon which to build a life?
So she honestly feels that her value is way higher than it actually is to all men. And this is a destructive force. But it also shows her how other women are living. So with this access or vision or view into other women's lives, she can see how eloquent and how much these other women are getting from more generous men. Combine that with the fact that she's also getting a lot of attention. So she'll put one and one together thinking, I'm getting all this attention. I'm just stuck with the wrong guy. That's why I'm not getting what I should be getting. And I know I can leave him and get a lot of the assets because I know I can jump to another guy because I'm getting all this attention.
And there you go, and that's the delusional state, okay? That's the delusional state. And that's the delusional state of mind. And then you have a system set up where, like I said, the family court can come in and just totally destroy the man's life. And it's like, the woman walks away with all the cash and prizes. The man is left destitute, and more men are seeing that. They've seen their fathers go through it, their brothers, their male friends, any other male relatives. And they're looking at it and they're going, yeah, I don't want to sign up for that. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Acquired before marriage or through inheritance or gifts from third parties is considered separate property and is not subject to division unless explicitly agreed otherwise by both parties. Joint assets. Assets acquired during the marriage, such as real estate, vehicles, savings, and investments, are considered joint property and will be divided fairly, though not necessarily equally. So if the man is out there grinding every day and there are no kids and she's at home doing shit all, so she has no responsibility at home, right? And she's not supporting him in that way with the kids, then why would he give her half? Now, if they had kids and she was at home taking care of kids and she couldn't go out and work, of course there should be some assets allocated to her. That's fair, but it doesn't necessarily have to be half, which is what I agree with.
This is what we're talking about, guys. This is what we're talking about. There has to be, if humans are going to interact, we've got to get the field has to be balanced. You cannot have a society set up in which government institutions or state institutions like family court, DCF, CPS, guardian ad litems, children's counselors, family court attorneys are all up in each other's business. You can't. It's got to. Yeah, all that stuff has to go away, guys. It's just like if you want to look up a great experiment, I think it was called Mouse Utopia. Look up Mouse Utopia online and see what happened with that. You cannot place living creatures in an artificial environment, which is what we're living in now. We're living in a world controlled by legal fictions. And as per legal definition, a legal fiction, a legal entity, okay, is such as a corporation or government, it is dead, legally speaking. It is not a live, living, breathing person. We've got to get the dead things out of the lives of the living. Here we go.
Debt division. Debt accumulated during the marriage are also divided between the spouses. Both parties may be held accountable for joint liabilities unless a court determines otherwise. This is where it gets tricky, man, because like assets, if the wife went out and accumulated a shitload of consumer debt and racked up the credit card and then now wants to divorce his ass, why should the man be responsible for paying that debt? So
That's right, exactly. I believe whoever racks up, if there's a divorce, whoever racks up the credit card debt should be the one that pays it. If it is proven and shown that the woman or the man, whoever it was spending credit card debt on things for themselves and not for the house or for the marriage or something that would benefit both parties, right? And they're just spending it on themselves for whatever miscellaneous stuff they want to buy for themselves, then that person should have to pay that. Now, if it's shown that, hey, these credit card purchases were for the household, they were purchases that would benefit both parties, the husband and the wife, then they should both work to pay that debt off. Fair and reasonable, common sense and logic. You know, and common sense, unfortunately, is not common anymore. It is, in fact, almost extinct.
So this is where it gets tricky because the man can also be held liable for the wife's debt and vice versa. So ladies, if you got a man who's out there and he's hustling and he went to borrow a lot of money to do a new business and it didn't work out and you're now left with a lot of debt, you are also responsible for that debt. Can't just walk away.
So, guys, the bottom line is, yeah, he makes great examples. I love this guy's video. He does a lot of great videos. I will post a link to his video below so that you all can go watch it. I think he's got a great channel. He does a lot of great work, and he clearly puts a lot of effort and thought and research into his videos. I would highly recommend subscribing to this gentleman. Again, guys, I mean, just ending on this note that we have got to stop the involvement of, well, let me just put it this way. Ladies, if you're a lady, if you're a woman and you're listening, okay, and even if you're a man, think about this. If you ladies are out there, hey, we can't find a good man, we're all the good men. Think about it like this. If a man gets married to you, or even has a prospect of getting married to you, he knows that he's going to have all of the guns of the state pointed at him, all of the might and power and practically limitless resources compared to his pockets against him. He's going to have the entire might of the state against him, ready to pull the trigger on all those guns pointed at him by the state whenever the woman says fire. Okay, whenever the woman says go, meaning files for divorce, whatever, that has got to go away. As long as men are living in fear of being destroyed for merely wanting to get married and perhaps build a family as well, this society is doomed. Any society is doomed. It doesn't matter what society it is. Look at the declining birth rates around the world. Okay, Mouse Utopia, guys, look it up, Mouse Utopia. You cannot put people or animals in an artificial environment. Even if that environment supplies them with everything they need, like in Mouse Utopia, look it up. The mice were provided with everything they need. They had plenty of space to live. They had all the food they could want, right? They didn't have any challenges. They were in a totally artificial environment. and you'll see what happened. We have put humans in an artificial environment because we've gone very deep into modernity, meaning modern society and industrialization. Guys, we got to get the state out of our lives, man, particularly when it comes to the family.